I feel sorry for her clients. Excuse me. I have empathy for her clients. That's a better way of putting it.
It's interesting. I've talked to a couple of people that are in all the people I know personally in the therapy field are very open-minded and inclusive. And there's a few that are very clear that they're right. And it is hard to think what kind of people they're coaching. That's not us.
Nope.
We're open to listening to how people are feeling and give them other options possibly, but
that's
not
why we're here.
Wrong. Yes, that's why we're here on the new streamingnetwork.com. WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, radio, TV, and podcast, #1 internet singles talk network. And this is Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine.
Here we are with next time live on a podcast. Today, we're going to talk about what are your relationship goals? And I think I've told you that on my Monday night Zoom that I do for singles in my area, I use some of our titles, and I did last Monday. And oh my gosh, it was so fun. The variety of answers I got. I know you're not surprised about that. So
no, not at all.
Well, and what was fun is how I wasn't surprised how few of them had really thought of the word goal. Mm-hmm. What is your goal? So even think about what's your short term, what's your middle term, what's your long term, to even think about having a goal. And it was very helpful for people to come up with a goal. Even just a goal in your life, a goal for money, a goal for a house, a car, friends, and certainly in dating, to think about what would make your life better in the first place. Those are goals to have. You know, do you need more friends? Do you need to get out more? Do you need to spend more time alone thinking about things? And then when you're thinking about dating, what are your goals? You know, what are your goals in the beginning and what is your ultimate goal? And it's funny, a guy asked me that the other day about I said, my ultimate goal, I'm really making sure I'm answering your question because we'd only seen each other twice. And I said, I want a monogamous, committed, long-term relationship. He goes, you really know? I said, I know. I said, I know it take that long time to develop. And that's really, I'm very clear about that's my ultimate goal.
Yeah, no, I'm totally in the same place. And that is, it is interesting because I actually just posted a meme today. I sort of popped up a while ago, so now again, but I put a description next to it because it's about, what are your green flags about relationships? I think it's actually a meme I stole from you like a few years ago, but I wrote some what I put in front of it saying, what are your green goal? What are your green flags? Because you might actually have gotten advanced enough to know what your red flags are, like things you mustn't have, you don't want to have, the deal breakers, you can't do those things. But have really looked at what you want to have as green goals. Like your green flags, what your goals would be for relationships. And it's amazing how many people, in fact, have at least looked and said, you know what, I don't want that anymore. And I talked about this, actually I wrote about it in my book about this, about how a lot of people do look at their future relationships by looking at the past and then looking like a rearview mirror. So basically you're trying to drive your car on the freeway going backwards, looking in the rearview mirror to see where you're going, which is crazy. So this conversation we're having today, for a lot of people, it's going to be a surprise. Oh, you need to have relationship goals?
Yeah,
but that's the thing. The truth is that you need to know. It's not as much you need to know, but if you want to have clarity of where you're going, it's good to be clear before you even start.
Really, absolutely. And it's a good thing that I appreciate you mentioning that people say, oh, I now know what I don't want. Mm-hmm. That's really good. What would you like instead?
Yes.
What would you like instead? If you could have it, as Ellison Armstrong says, if you could have it all your way, how would it be different this time? And you could start out with unrealistic pie in the sky, someplace to start, and then you temper it with realism. Mm-hmm. And some people, what's amazing, I found in my Monday night thing, the people who were like, could I really have that? Which is fun when you have 20 people on the screen and you get a lot of different answers. I watch people go, oh, I could ask for that. I could have that. That's one of the things I love about this group because it's pretty balanced, men and women. So you get really not only just variety of people in their stage of life, but you also very clearly get the male and female perspective, which can often be, as we talk about a lot, very different. And so for people to go, oh, yeah, I could have somebody that wants to travel with me. I always cite you that my co-host always says somebody has to have an active passport. It's really important to him. And we need to talk about the things that are really important to us. Yeah. We talk about how we want somebody that's done personal growth. It's really important to us. It's really a deal maker for us. So to be thinking that about in your goals, and if you now have, you're more grandiose, you're more future, where you'd like to see yourself in a year. If you really did date somebody, meet them soon, and you dated them for a whole year, where would you like to be? And then how are you going to get there? It's kind of like doing a business plan for your life. I mean, that's what you do when you start a business. How are you going to get to this great place that you want to be? Or if you're going to go on a trip, you need to make some sort of plans. I mean, there are some people that just go buy a ticket and go, but that would never be me. So, do you have a country you'd like to visit? Do you need anything to know about the language, the money, do you need to have that? My friend that just got back from Africa, all the different immunizations and things she had to do in order to go for that third time. So to think about where you want to be, and then how do you get there, and look at all the particulars. And people just are so laissez-faire about dating. Don't you find that a lot, Barry?
It is almost like it's almost like you're pulling up in the parking lot and you notice the guy next to you and you go, oh, they're cute. And it's that sort of limit, that presumptive view people have. They don't need to do any work. It's just like, they'll just show up right next to them, sort of thing. Now, not to say it never happens, because I know some of my past relationships were kind of that sort of coincidence. But now being consciously aware of what my own choices are, and also having resolved a lot of the past patterns that I was using as a magnet, because the other part as well, we talked about this before, that our old programming that we were raised with as a child is a magnet pulling in like patterns, parallel patterns, things that we had experienced as a child will be attracting that sort of pattern from somebody else, because it's almost like this unconscious magnet for the same sort of patterns to fit together. And so to do, quote, the work, to become more consciously aware of what it is you've been doing in the past that doesn't work and what you really want to have, like flipping the script, as you said, it's a change for a lot of people. And this conversation, even though it sounds so simplistic, what are your relationship goals? Easy, make a list. For a lot of people, it's not even crossed their radar, or even something to think about consciously, because they've been so trained to default into the most limited way of doing things. And so I'm passionate about, with my clients, definitely having a clear vision of what they want to have and all the things I offer as tools to help them get there. But they got to start with, where are you now? And where don't you want to be? Sometimes you said as well, what is your deal breaks? What are your red flags that you said, okay, that isn't working anymore? Great. Good place to start. But then where do you want to go from there? And that really is a simple step, but it's a big step people don't even think about.
Most people don't think about, where are you now? I mean, if you're going to go on a trip, you need to figure out where you are now to go in a car or a train or a plane. You need to know where your starting place is. So yeah, Barry, that is something we both do with our clients. We figure out where they are now. Yeah. And often you're not interested in a relationship right now. You want to get to know yourself better. You want to get to know another person better. And how will you do that? What will you do to learn to get yourself better, if that's one of your goals? And then what strategy do you have to get to know another person? What kinds of things do you need to do with them, so that you see, how do they interact with other people? How do they interact with you in different situations? What kind of conversations do you want to have with them about the things that are important to you, like travel and family and religion, that you can make sure with each step, oh, I'm learning enough about them that I want to see them another time. I now know enough the kind of questions to ask, and to always ask, I'm so curious, because it's important to be curious about getting to know the other person and not have them feel like you're interrogating or interviewing them.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to approach it like a it's like that's I think maybe one reason people go on first dates to like dark restaurants. They don't have a big spotlight shining on their face, and like, what do you really want? That's a big shift. The thing that is also, I think, clear, because again, back to the topic we're talking about, relationship goals. Like you said, some people don't necessarily dream big enough to have a real clear, like, what if scenario, because frankly, it's only us that hold ourselves back when we don't believe we can have what we want in any area of life. So certainly in relationship area, we oftentimes don't look at what's possible. We think about what will suffice, what's enough. It's like, why not shoot beyond that to what's really desirous, what will be so wonderful, so exciting? Because the shift you can have, in basically who you attract, but also who you start noticing will change when you start clarifying your vision.
Boy, that's really true. My late husband, who was in the car business for a very long time, used to tell people, the most uncommon color is blue. It's the least produced, the least purchased. Seems odd. So I tell people, if you want to start looking for something new, treat it like a blue car. So you want to see men having good behavior. You want to see women acting the way that you'd like to be with a woman. And the other thing I tell them is to look for people, hopefully in your life, but just out in the world, that have been together happy most of the time. For 10 years is a really good minimum for people who have gone through some bumps. And then ask them, how'd you get through it? How'd you get through the hard times? What did you do? How did you meet each other? What kind of things did you ask each other in the beginning? Because I'm really grateful, and I've said this before, that I have single friends and that my clients have single friends, but they're not always the best people to take advice from because they haven't really figured out how to get in a relationship or how to help other people get in relationships. They know how to stay single really well. So ask people that are where you want to be. That's the thing. When you say, I didn't know what I didn't know. Wow, I never thought about that way. I never thought about the variety, because I always ask people how they've gotten through hard times, and I've gotten such a variety of answers that I can now share with my clients, and certainly use the ones that apply to me. The variety of ways that people have gotten through hard times. There's been a couple times the things I would never have even really thought of that would work so consistently. So ask people that are in relationships how it's working for them, and see if any of those pieces resonate with you to make part of your goals.
Yeah. I mean, the other part as well, which I'll add to, is that you got to be careful. Yes, I recommend you be careful when you meet somebody new, that you don't necessarily make them so idealized that you'll shed or drop some of those goals or some of those intentions you had before you met them. Because the challenge is, and I've done this myself, where I was definitely in a place where I was like, I know what I want, but oh, she's cute, and derail what I was focusing on because I was looking for what was like. It's kind of like, instead of what I want down the road, it's like, well, she's right here, so then I'll just settle and give up some of those goals that I had. So one of the things to be aware of is, are your goals important enough to hold true to, that you won't be distracted from them by somebody?
Yeah, that came up too. And I said, settling, I've decided now I'm going to define it, because I hear people say I don't want to settle a lot. That comes up a lot in these groups I talk to.
Right.
So I get to make up a definition and they can make up their own. But my definition has been, because I've talked about, in a relationship, you talk about the things that would make it great, and the things that would be really good, and the things that would be good, and the things that you might not know, but you'll learn. And it's good to know, what are the things that are good enough? What are the things that are good enough? Okay enough. That's not bad. There's nothing bad about that. And anything that falls below the good enough line and stays there, that's what I call settling. I think that should be the definite definition of settling, that you're now letting something in your relationship stay below the good enough line, because that will screw up. I don't care how sexy everybody is and how much wild, crazy sex you're having, that if you have something, especially emotionally, even mentally, I've heard a few lately, it ruins. We lose respect. We start moving back physically, and we can't care about them anymore if it's below that. So don't settle. But if you have really specific goals and you write them down, you won't forget them.
Right. That is such a
even
key.
If they're cute.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, oftentimes, and this is one of the challenges I know, is that people will tend to look at a relationship and meet somebody, and the person like satisfied 2-3 of their ideal things, but they don't know about the other ones, or they don't care about the other ones, because I'm good enough. I got 2 out of 17. I'm good. I'm happy with this. Like, yeah. And so, like you said, they do tend to often get a relationship because of some of the primary and most visible qualities that person has seen. But the ones you want to talk about, the emotional, mental stuff, especially, are not present at the beginning. There's something hidden back. So saying yes right then might feel okay because you've got enough to keep you busy for a minute, especially if you've been single for a while. Suddenly it's like, wow, the sex is great, or hanging out with this person is wonderful. I love looking at them. It's all these things are great. But how do they think, and how do you deal with it? How do they honor your emotional expression? How do they honor themselves being emotional with you, how real are they with you? I mean, these are just the tip of the iceberg. But some of these keys are so valid because they give you such a leverage to see clearly what you really want. And the challenge, I think, for so many of us is that we have sometimes been, again, distracted by a few things rather than everything we really want. And because also for a lot of people, I think they don't believe they can have everything they really want. So as you said earlier, how big can you make a pie in the sky? How big can it be possible that you don't even know? And let's say you've got to settle on and hold true to that for so long, but why not start there?
And boy, getting to know somebody over time, like right now, I think we just had a couple of earthquakes that everybody felt. I looked it up and there'd been like a whole bunch of earthquakes, but we hadn't really felt them. But there were two that at least people in my area, we felt them enough to go, oh, there was an earthquake. So with that and politics and COVID and all the other stuff, how am I personally, and how is this person how are you dealing with the stress? How are you dealing with all the stress in our world right now? I mean, it's kind of in the energy, and I've noticed some people out there are being extra impatient about seems little things, but obviously it's been building up that this little thing was, as they say, the straw that broke the camel's back. I mean, that's such an important conversation to have, because what I'm finding is they've not been asked that question from the outside, and they often haven't asked the question on the inside. And I've been pleased with how many people, when they really thought about it, they knew the answer. Mm-hmm. When they really thought about it. And then I go, ooh, am I okay with that? Does that work for me in my life as a friend or somebody more? So to find out what are the important things for you. So how I deal with stress is something that I've learned over time, how to keep myself comfortable and all that feels like happening around me. And I want to know how they do it. And it's been fascinating because, again, I'm learning things I never thought about it that way. Wow, that really works for you. Would that work for me as a person? And would that work for me in a relationship? I mean, that's just been really fun conversations to have.
It was something that really started me on my path as well, was to really start getting honest with what I was receiving and whether it fit or not. Yeah. You know, what I was accepting, what I was, and also, like you said, that settling thing, what were I giving up other things to have this piece of it, but not all of it? And it's the temptation also, we can talk about this as well in another piece, is that a lot of people who have been single for a long time will say, you know what, because I've been alone for so long and I feel lonely, I'll put up with what I don't get because I get some things I do get. And that is such a poor choice, unfortunately. I mean, I love working with my clients to help them remember that being single is a good thing, not a bad thing. Because I've been single a long time and I'm quite happy with my own life. And to be with somebody else is going to be something special to add to that. The challenge is a lot of people when they're single is they choose to get in a relationship without realizing the price they're paying because they haven't chosen to stay at the same standard they were on their own with. And to really honor and own their selfhood in their own singleness makes them a much better partner when they stay in that place, because that's what's going to attract the other person in the first place. Yeah, boy. You know?
So we've talked about these lists of quite a few times, so that if you're making out a list of your deal breakers and then you turn them into the deal makers, and you make a list of who you are and what you bring to a relationship and what you need back from another partner, that can now start you on the path of really doing some incremental goals. And I think that that'll be really important for us to keep talking about, because I don't think people understand about the incremental goals. I don't think they know what's the first goal and what's possible. I mean, you can make up your own, but we're going to give you kind of a path on some ideas of do this and then do this. And if you've done this enough, then you could skip this one, but it might not be good to skip this one, because it's as if you're going to, I use like those hikes that I would never do, you know, the kind where you go out for weeks and weeks with a pack on your back and don't shower. So not me. You would have to have a plan. You'd have to have a plan for what are you going to do this week and next week. And I know people, they have food shipped, but you have to do all that ahead of time. So we're going to treat dating kind of like that, right?
Definitely, it's a good idea to do that, because frankly, if you're really not sure what your goals are, we can help you get started the right way. Yeah.
So we're headed into a commercial, and we will see you back in just 30 seconds.
See you soon.
Hi, this is Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry, and we're back talking today about what are your relationship goals
And where to begin.
and where to begin. So it's funny how many people will say out loud, I just want to start out as friends.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really good goal in the beginning because
Yeah.
I've talked about I have two very close people in my life who have been together for a really long time with their partner, and they still feel like they are such good friends. They are
Mm-hmm.
their favorite people to be with. I mean, they have lots of other people in their life, but they really like each other, and they've continued, not every moment of every day, but generally they like each other a lot.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good goal. But what do you need in a friend? What kind of a friend are you? That's the other thing. If you're making out this grandiose list about the things you want this other person to be, I put up this, I retweeted, was it that, did you send, somebody put up about how the woman looked back and went, gosh, I'm saying I want all these things from the guy, but I discovered that I wasn't that person and I needed to improve myself so I would turn into somebody I would actually date. I thought,
Yeah.
oh, that was a really succinct way to put it, because you need to get really clear about what your goals are, and do you have the right equipment to get there, like when you go on one of those big long hikes.
Well, the thing is also, and yeah, I do remember that meme. The thing is that we get caught up in the fact is we have this dream and vision and we start thinking of these reasonable goals because they're unreasonable because we're not doing the work to be that partner that will match that. And so it is okay to have big goals and big dreams about partnership, what you want to have, but you also got to know that if you're not there yet yourself, you got some work to do to really do your own inner work to become I won't say word is the wrong word, but to be available to those goals that you set up for a partnership. You know, if you say you want to be with a partner who goes to the gym or exercise every day, and is a fitness pro, and you sit on the couch eating chips and watching TV, it may not be a good choice there because you won't necessarily want to be with somebody who's going to do all that and then wants to be with you. So if you want to be with somebody who's very fit and healthy, what are you doing for yourself to become fit and healthy to be with them?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or somebody who likes to travel a lot, like the thing about the passports. Like, if you want to be with somebody who travels, is your passport up to date? Do you have room in your calendar to travel if you wanted to? It's like, it's important to recognize that the goals you're setting up for a relationship involve you. It sounds silly to say it that way, but if you're looking for goals for a relationship, that means you're part of that relationship. So why not be up to date with those things you need to do, or be current with those things, or put energy into those areas that you want to have in a partner. So that way you're in the right place energetically. You feel comfortable with them when you meet them.
I bet we're both surprised. I certainly am, by the people who haven't really thought about it that way. But that's why we're here, and we're happy to help them think about it that way.
Absolutely.
So if you want a friend, what would you like to do with them? Do you want to have long, soulful conversations? Do you want to go to museums? Do you want to go on a hike? Do you want somebody that rides bikes? Do you want somebody who does artistic things? I mean, start out with that. Start out with what kind of friend do you need? What kind of things would they do? What kind of things would they say? What kind of a person would they be? And then go there. Go where you want those people to be. Go do the activity. I mean, it's really quite remarkable how if you go do something that you're enjoying, that you're making a goal that I'm going to go do something once a week that I really like, that involves other people, how happy you get and relaxed you get and more yourself you get and feeling more capable because you're doing this new thing. And you'll meet people of the same sex that you get to be friends with, and you get to practice talking to people. And it's the way we used to meet, was in big groups where you see somebody across the room and are they talking to somebody and do you like how they're treating them? So if that's one of your first goals, which Barry and I say is really a helpful first goal, is to go do stuff where you could make friends. If you want somebody to be a friend, go places where you can make friends.
Yeah, that's the thing is, and we talk about this many times in previous episodes, about if you value certain things and you're not doing something with them, move in that direction. I know, like, one of my goals in a relationship is to be somebody who does this work with me. Well, I'm already doing this work, so because it's not hard. But also, I love volunteering, so I volunteer every Saturday with this feeding project every Saturday, feeding needy families. If she doesn't want to do that, that may not be a good fit because I love doing it. And yes, if she doesn't have time for it because she's busy doing her volunteer stuff on the same day, that's a different story. But it's just like, can't be bothered, doesn't interest you. It's like, doesn't matter how cute you are, I'm sorry, that doesn't feel aligned for me. So absolutely get clear about what it is that is important to you for your life, whether it's the stuff you do for service, or stuff you do emotionally and mentally, the meditations you do or the exercise you do, whatever things you do that fill you up. You want to make sure that your partner honors those ideally, and even participates will be as ideal as well. So it is vital that your relationship with yourself is the level you want it to be at, as I said before, but also that you're then entertaining somebody at the same level.
Yes. And I love your pictures of your volunteering at your food place. I volunteer with horses all the time. And what's really great is what I found is if they don't want to do that, I want to know what do you volunteer at? What place fills your heart? What way are you giving back to the world? Because that's a really important part of me. And I want somebody that's an important part of them. It's fun if it is the same thing, because then you can go do it together. And one of the things about if you're doing different things is now you come back and talk about it. You go do something on Saturday, and then you come back and you have a dinner and a conversation. Well, what did you learn today at your thing? And who did you meet? And what kind of valuable things did you see happening? That could be an extra interesting conversation that you came from different places. But the core goal you're having that we're talking about is both Barry and I are saying our goal is that we want somebody that's interested in volunteering and supportive that we do, and we would be supportive that they do. If you have that as a goal of yours, write it down so that you don't forget, even when they're cute.
That's even if they're cute, yeah.
It's so hard because but they're so cute. And me, it's a voice thing. Boy, if they have a nice voice, I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
So I have to have them all written down. I write it down. Are they this and this and this too, as well as having a really nice voice that I like?
And have that list somewhere handy, because when you're out in the world, you might suddenly forget what's on the list because they're so stimulating. And you're caught up in the whole thing of like, this person's great. And it's like, then you go, hang on a second, don't they have this thing and this thing and this thing? It's like going, oh, they don't. And that softens the blow much more easily.
I have clients that carry them around on their phone. They have their lists on their phone.
Yeah.
It's really healthy. So let's say now you've moved past the friendship goal. You want a friend first, and then what would be the next goal? It's not marriage. It's not a committed relationship. You really need to get to know each other for a little while. So what kind of activities do you want to do? What kind of conversations do you want to have? When do you want to start meeting each other's friends? Write it down. It doesn't mean you get it all your way. If you say, gosh, I really think if I went out with somebody 5 times, I think I should meet their friends. Well, then I'd say, gosh, I'm really interested in meeting your friends. What do you think about that? And they'd say, I really need a little more time. Okay, then we can talk about that. At least if somebody would be open to saying that I need a little more time would be lovely.
Yes.
So, but clearly, what are your next steps? When do you meet families? If you have kids, underage, adults, when do you decide to do that? Is it 6 months? I think that's pretty minimum for most people.
Pretty much, yeah.
Advisable. And that you've prepared the kids, you tell them you've started dating and that you've been dating a couple people and you only bring them around if you think they're important, so that at least they have a chance to voice their objections or at least get used to it. Because especially kids of widowed people, they are sometimes a little squeamish about that. So it's important to bring it up. So, but to think, when is your goal that would work for your person and you personally and your nuclear people? What would be the next step?
That's the thing about that. What I'm getting clearly, we said that was, it does require patience, because the other part as well, just to realize, is that you might discover that, again, like you have 1 or 2 things in common. It's like, this is really good. And you're diving into a committed relationship before you even cross the 3rd level. So it is an incremental process. And if it's worth doing, it's worth being patient. And it's worth, like say, friends first, absolutely. And again, because that's one of the challenges of the dating apps and matchmakers and other things too, is that they don't give you the chance to become friends first unless you author that yourself and make that priority. Because there's such a presumption about dating apps that when you meet some of the dating apps, you're going to get married right away. You're going to be living together right away. You're going to become committed relationship right away. It's like, well, hang on a second. You meet somebody out in the world, that can be tempting as well. But the reality, again, comes back to is, can you be willing to make friends first? And I know it's interesting to talk about this because it's so clear that so many women have made men put them in the friend zone. It's like that's when they're talking about that. It was about, are you willing to build connection first? Are you willing to build friendship before you get too intimate and cross lines that it's hard to come back from? And so even if you meet somebody in the dating apps, or you get referred to a matchmaker, or through a dating site, whatever thing you're using as a vehicle to meet somebody, can you build, before you commit to anything, a level of friendship where you get to know the other person honestly, and it's not just based on the data they have in their profile. So you get to know this person on a way that is, okay, this fits, this works, this person does things that work for me, and they don't do anything that doesn't work for me.
Yep.
And you become.
And can you work through them? Or do you have any negotiating places? Yeah.
You become an arbiter, basically. You become a decider of what really fits and what doesn't fit, and it's honest, because that's what it's all about.
And the more you pay attention to this, and the more you have conversations with yourself and another person, the more clear you're going to get about what are the things that are the most important to you and not.
Absolutely.
So my test always is, after a reasonable amount of time, somewhere before 6 months usually, go away together, even for the weekend. Oh my gosh, what you learn about another person when you are away with them, their sleeping habits, their hygiene habits, their, how much quiet time do they need? How much people time do they need? I mean, it's just different when you go away. It's just different. I mean, I've had to just tell Ben, I talk to everybody that comes near me. I've done it since I was 3. It's who I am. And I hope you're okay with it. Let me know if you're not, and we can have a conversation about it. And it's really who I am. You like this vivacious person. You all say, oh, we really like how outgoing you are. Well, this is the other part of that. This is part of my outgoing person, is if somebody stands within 2 feet of me, I'm going to ask them, what are you doing here? And what did you see? And what do you think we should go do? And it's kind of interesting if I'm with somebody that's just as voluptuous about it as I am. But when I've been with people that are a little more on the quiet side, it's been so helpful to prepare them ahead of time.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of a shock.
Well, really what that speaks to is that if you are in this place where you're looking for a new relationship, how honest are you about who you are and how you what you bring to the relationship? How much of your personality is, 1, authentic, but 2, communicable, so you can let the person you're meeting know that this is who you are, versus what they guess, because you don't tell them what you're about. And so it's vital. And the thing about the going away together, that's chapter in my book as well, about if you want to get to know if you're really going to be good compatibility, is go away together, because that will tend to refine your compatibility either toward or away from each other. And it's good to know at this point in time, versus down 2 years of relationship, you're getting married, you don't even know this stuff.
Yeah, I've certainly had it solidify and oh no after I've gone away with somebody.
Yep.
Yeah, and we're not saying any of this makes anybody a bad person. It just is, oh, not my person, not my match. Right. I'm now getting quoted. The people are now putting on Facebook, Christine says it's just not your person. Because I say it so much. Because it's the most benign way I can say it. When you're first starting to get to know somebody, you're not like in a big heart commitment. You haven't been dating for months and months and months and had the monogamy. This is just, you're getting to know each other. And if something big deal comes up and you are both willing to talk about it, and you're like, just can't. I'm really religious, you're not. Or I like to travel and I don't. You're just not each other's person. You're somebody else's person, but you're just not that person's person. And it's been so helpful to lower the angst and the rejection feeling that's so inaccurate when it's so new, when there's really nothing there. There's nothing there, really. That's the thing.
Yes. The thing for me about that is really, well, first of all, I say is bring all of you to the conversation, bring all of you to that dating and that experience, because then you'll know if there is rapport, because you'll be able to check in with yourself and check in with your list that we've all talked about. That gives you reference points of where you are and what this person is bringing into the conversation. Because, as I said earlier, it's so tempting to fall for something very basic and very instinctual that goes, that feels really good, and ignoring everything else. So to navigate through this conversation, staying true to yourself and owning your own space and your own boundaries, while you use your list as reference, your goals list as reference, is a healthy way to approach this. We are so, unfortunately, maybe thanks to the Hallmark Channel, caught up in the paradigm of all these different stories about how love is happening the way it does, which usually isn't the way it works. But when we do take conscious choice, and it's some people say, well, it's not very romantic, it's not very sexy. It's like, no, it is, because you created the foundation upon which you can build that. The temptation to fall into that romantic trap or that sexual attraction trap with nothing else to sustain it means that when that diminishes or when that starts to fade a bit, there's nothing else to support it. So like you said at the beginning, I said earlier about making friends first. It's so many relationships I know I was in over the years when I had a relationship that when it ended, there was nothing left. There's no friendship. We didn't start as friends. So we couldn't end as friends.
Yeah.
Happened a couple of times, and that was great. But I didn't do it all the time. So that's one of my criteria, definitely, is about becoming friends first, because if, unfortunately, the relationship doesn't last, doesn't sustain itself, you still have a friend afterwards, with some time of healing, of course.
I think that's a really good goal. And if you have that as a goal, it's really kind of good to say it in the beginning, that this is how I'm feeling, that we'll become such good friends that no matter what happens, we'll be able to stay friends. It's the thing I did it with my first marriage. It was so amazing, because we had started out as friends and then it wasn't so great in the marriage. And then afterwards, we went back to being friends. It was so amazing. Our friends kept going, wow, you guys are so nice now. And like, yeah, we just were not good together. We were really much better. It was one of those things we were better apart.
Yeah.
Oh my God, such a tickle. So the other thing is, if your relationship goal is never to get married, please say that out loud. It's really important to say that out loud, because if the other person's really bent on getting married, that's important to know.
Or if you don't want to be around kids and they have kids, or vice versa. These are things that are pretty much immutable.
Sorry.
That's okay. Or they're immutable for you. So that's why having a list of goals for your relationship is important, because this is all stuff you need to think about before you jump into a relationship with somebody, and you don't sit there going, oh, I shouldn't have done that. So you have a healthier approach.
And if you have goals, if you've done this work and the other person hasn't, now you can encourage them. You can say, this is what I'm thinking about for my first step. What do you, I never thought about that. And then they can think about it. Because especially if you have two people who haven't thought about it getting together, the potential mess is just too huge.
It's unfortunately the majority of people on the planet, I think, have that lack of understanding.
Well, doesn't it give us job security then?
And it also means that people listening to our podcast are getting a clue that the other people don't get.
Yes, it puts you ahead of the game, I hope. If you really do listen to this and go, I've never thought about it this way, I'm going to start writing stuff down. And then I'm going to start asking, my friends, have they thought about this? And potential relationship people that you're meeting, have they thought about this? And what's their very first thing they want? Do they just want a date for Saturday night? Okay, say that out loud. If you want somebody to just be a companion, because there's lots of women that want that right now in our age group, then say that out loud. Say what you want and need. You can always change. This is not set in stone. You can do it on your computer, so you can erase it and start over again all you want. At least start out with, this is where I am today. Because what I found is, once you write it down and then you start doing it, you're like, oh, I didn't really mean that. I want this instead. Or now that I got that, I want more. Or I want different. But you have to have a place to start. And that's what we're talking about today, is where do you even start?
Yeah, and it's having a list that is definitely evolving, because if you make it immutable, you're going to be caught up short at some point. If you discover something or recognize something on your list that needs to come off, or something you didn't add to your list which you need to put on. And it's the recognition, yes, that the list is not cast in stone. It is mutable, and it has the availability for you to work on all the time. I keep a lot of things in my notes app on my phone, because it matches my notes app on the computer. So if I'm working at, like, I have recipes in both places. When I go shopping, I can find what I'm looking for in the recipe list. But the same thing is true with dating relationships. Same as for a recipe. You want the ingredients. So what are the ingredients you want to have in your relationship opportunity and your next person? Those ingredients need to be listed somewhere. And if you put it in like a notes app or something on your phone that matches your computer, then when you go out somewhere and you see somebody, you're like, let me just check my list to remember what I thought I was looking for, so you don't get distracted by who they look,
Yep.
A bit smarter. Yep.
I love that. I love that we have that opportunity on our phone now.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about is getting your own self clear about what's the next step. As Dr. Laura says, between now and dead, how do you want to live? I love when she says it that way.
Yeah.
Because think about, how do you want to live? What kind of activities do you want in your life? What kind of friend relationships do you want? Do you want to travel? Do you want to get more spiritual? Do you want to read more books? And write down your goals for if you think you really do want some sort of a personal romantic relationship someday. Write down your goals for that. And how are you going to get there? Come up with a little bit of a plan of just, I'm going to do one new thing this week that brings me closer to that goal. The goal of getting out more, the goal of meeting people my age, the goal of meeting people that have more of this thing in common with me. Once a week, go look for something until you find the thing, and then do that thing every week. When I get people to finally do this, they're like, oh my gosh, my life is just feeling so much richer, and it's solidifying. This is really who I am. I went and tried it, went, yeah, this is so me. Because sometimes you don't know till you go try it, right?
Absolutely. And it's the thing also about when you have relationship goals, you don't just sit home on the couch and hope they come to your door and knock on the door. It's like you want to get out and have life going as well, doing things and doing things that you may have put off or simply haven't done for a long time because you forgot about it, or things that you love doing anyway. Is they should be front and center in your life, because they basically give you the fuel and the gusto that makes you feel more alive and more vivacious, frankly. So you're more attractive. Mm-hmm. So by having things that you do that fill up your batteries, that make you feel full, make you more attractive, because you're not coming from a place of neediness or desperation. You're in a place of being so involved in life. People will go, wow, they're amazing. Let's find out more about them. Much better way of doing it.
Such a good way. And if you're feeling more vivacious, I love that word, and you're out with people, you can help bring it out in them, or you'll just be around more people that feel that way because they're feeling energized doing the same thing. And so many people lately, when they've not generally met through the dating apps, because they're doing that both, but they go to meetups or something, they join an activity, take a class. When they get really excited about what they're doing, they're finding their people, they're finding friends, they're finding dates, because the other people are excited about being there too. It's so helpful, much more helpful than just sitting at home on your couch.
Absolutely. And on the second piece of that, just to give you something to think about as well, is that you may be on these volunteer places or these activities, dancing or whatever you're doing, and feel like, I want to meet the one. Well, here's the thing. Meet people, make friends with them, even if there's someone who's not you're even attracted to, because they may have friends. And the thing is that this is the old-fashioned thing, way before we're dating apps and swiping and everything else on the smartphones. A lot of times our dates were referrals of friends of ours. We met through social engagement or through something else. So if you're out with people who aren't your ideal person, maybe they know somebody who ends up being that person. Mm-hmm. So don't snub anybody or turn people down without really entertaining the idea of possibility, because the possibility is it may be one more person beyond the person you want to be with.
Yes.
It could be that easy once you know. But again, start from your list of what it is you want to have a relationship that's vital first, because you become resonant at that frequency and it becomes noticeable.
I love that. Yes. Go do things with them. Ask them what other things they do, what other activities they're part of, or if they have some regular thing that they host. See if you can get invited. You never know who people know. You never know. And that you are so right. That is exactly how people used to meet. And people are always asking, their friends, and for some reason their friends don't know, your close, intimate friends don't know a lot of single people. Okay. Then go where single people are and ask them where they go, where there's other single people. I mean, there's two, I'm going to give them an advertisement. There's two meetup groups, one OC Singles and one OC Good Life. They have over 15,000 members. They must have 3 things a week that a lot of people go to. Yeah. I mean, local things. They also travel together to other countries. I mean, really huge, huge following. And they have house parties, and they go, there's regular hikes and there's regular bikes. So go look on even just those 2 groups. If you're somewhere local to California, or Southern California, they're a great resource. And to go look on meetups where you live. But if you don't know where to start and you're feeling all frustrated about, I don't know what to do. What do you mean goals? I have to set goals. I don't understand goals. Because I didn't understand it either. I was never that kind of person in business. I always went, how do I want to feel? Which is that what I still do with this? How do I want to feel? Mm-hmm. I don't make business goals as well. I do much more how do I want to feel in 2 weeks, and how do I want to feel in 6 months? That works for me. Yeah. Barry and I can help you.
Absolutely, we can.
So if you'd like to talk to me, the best way to reach me is through my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com. And if you scroll down to where it says what's holding you back, it's a questionnaire. You fill out just 10 brief questions and gives me kind of a sense and you a sense of where you are and where you'd like to be. And then you can have access to my calendar to schedule a complimentary conversation with me that's private. And we just talk about where you are and how I can help you possibly get where you want to be. You can also join my mailing list. You'll get a repeat of this lovely podcast and also updates on what it is I'm doing in my life. And if you scroll to the bottom of that homepage, you can click on all my social media and join Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and Pinterest and Instagram and Twitter. You can also send me a personal email at Christine@theperfectcatch.com. And Barry, tell them how they could reach you.
Well, thank you for asking or inviting. Similarly to Christine, I have my own website and things too. So my website is my name, so easy to find, which is barryselby.com. On the homepage of my website, there's a link to get a discovery session with me, which is the top of the screen. And you can click on the link that will take you to a calendar first, and then a form you fill out with some questions and answers that I will use to help you navigate where you are and where you're looking to go. And if it's about this particular topic, put that in the comments and in your message, and then we'll definitely go from there. You can send me an email at barryselby.com. Also, to drop this in here again, because I've had people start doing my quiz again, the quiz starts showing up, people start responding to it, is I have a quiz, because if you are single and not sure where you're going in terms of navigating a new relationship, you're not sure where to begin, I have a relationship readiness assessment, which is basically a quiz, that can run you through a bunch of questions that give you clarity about where you've been, where you're going, and what's in the way. So you can have some answers before you move any further forward. And I do have an invitation in there for a discovery session with me as well, of course. But you go to barryselby.com/quiz. You can take the quiz and find out for yourself, and then you can reach out to me for help after that. Social media-wise, my name is all on my handles on most platforms. So for YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X for now, LinkedIn, Pinterest, it's all Barry Selby. On Instagram and on Threads, it's the real Barry Selby, because my account got changed over. So that's where you can find me. And again, you can drop me an email at barry@barryselby.com. And there's other things on my site, although my site's getting rebuilt and it will be up and running very shortly. My web program has put some things in place. Once it gets launched, I'll be able to tell you all the other pages, because they'll be easily navigable. Right now, they're not there yet. But definitely more stuff to check out on my site. If you want to find out more about that, reach out to me.
Very excited.
Yes.
And then we're here every Thursday at 1 o'clock Pacific and 4 o'clock Eastern, and all the times in between live. You could comment and ask us questions while we're sitting here. We'd be happy to answer them. You can also go watch us on Roku and Apple TV. And we'd love for you to share it with your friends that are having challenges in their dating life as well, and like and subscribe.
Indeed. You can also watch us on YouTube and Facebook if you're watching us in those platforms as well. And of course, you can listen to us too, because we actually have this wonderful thing called podcasts. And so our show does get reproduced out on a podcast platform. So you've got to listen to Apple, Spotify, one of those platforms out there. You can actually take us with you wherever you go, because it's easier to listen to audio on your phone when you're traveling than it is trying to watch a video when you're traveling. So either way, you can get us, and you can get the content to write down, make notes, and use in your life every day.
I know. People are telling us they're binging us. I love it.
Indeed.
Guess we're going to compete with the housewives, right?
They might
the
need
real housewives, they're binging those and they're binging us.
Yeah. Say they might need our help.
Well, I think that's true. I have a couple of them. I would love to have them talk to me. It'd be great.
Yeah.
So we will be back again next week with another fun subject on the Let's Talk Dating show. Bye for now.
See you next week.